I am 29. I was born in Spring Valley. I have never been to Haiti, and I voted for that man in 2024. Docket. Up next is In the Streets. So we'll see what you guys have to say about In the Streets, okay?
Sure.
This letter comes from New York, Spring Valley, New York. I'll just put it that way. Bonjour. I'll write the rest in English because the part I need to say does not sound better in Creole. My mother has cleaned rooms at the same hotel for 19 years. 19. She has a name badge with a little star on it. On July 27th, her work permit stopped being a work permit. And by Thursday of that week, a manager she has known for over a decade walked her to the office and could not look at her. I am 29. I was born in Spring Valley. I have never been to Haiti, and I voted for that man in 2024. I want to be clear that nobody tricked me. I sat down, I looked at what I was paying for groceries and what I was paying for insurance. I listened to him talk about the economy like a man who had run on something, and I insurance. I listened to him talk about the economy like a man who had run on something, and I made a decision. My mother told me not to. My mother is the immigrant and I am the citizen, and I was the one explaining to her how the country works. So the Supreme Court clears the way in June that the mandate lands on the 27th of July, and 350,000 Haitians lose status in an afternoon. Not a raid, not a speech, a mandate date. Then on August 5th, a judge in Washington signs the order confirming there is nothing left to block it. And it's finished. Here is what I did not expect. And this is the reason I'm writing to y'all and not to my pastor. When it happened, I waited for our people to say something. Not Haitian people, Black American people. The shows, the caucus, the ones who talk about Miami, Haitian, a Trump voter like me, lost his whole management team across 7 restaurants and is closing 2 of his locations. And he said out loud that he regrets it. And I watched Black folks online laugh at him. They enjoyed it. He deserved some of it. So do I. But when they were done laughing, there was nothing underneath. No line about the 19 years or the gold star. And I understood something I had spent my life not understanding. I don't think we are one family. I think we are neighbors who share an enemy. And when the enemy comes for the neighbor first, the family does the math. I'm not asking you to tell me I was wrong to vote how I voted. I know what I did. My mother knows what I did. She still cooked on Sunday. What I want is for 3 grown Black men to say on a microphone whether Haitians. What I want is for 3 grown Black men to say on a microphone whether Haitians, Jamaicans, Nigerians, Somalis, whether we are Black to you, same way you are Black to each other, or whether we are Black when the police are out and whether we are Black when the police are out and foreign when the paperwork comes. Because I have heard the jokes my whole life and about the accent and the food and the boat from the same mouths that say diaspora when a camera is on. And I want somebody at the table to say what a citizen owes his mother when the country he chose takes her name badge. Will Dean from Spring Valley, New York. P.S. Do not read this as a woman crying about Trump. I would vote on my grocery bill again. I just need to know whether the family. That was a lot. We battle and talk about the diaspora wars on this show, not as much as you might find other places, because I think it's destructive and counterproductive. But sometimes these things find their way into our boxes. So.
A popular local chef is facing backlash as the Trump administration ends TPS protections for Haitians.
You may know him as Chef Creole. Now he's speaking out.
Sanella and JC, Chef Creole owner Wilkinson Séjour has been open about how the loss of Haitian TPS workers is already affecting his restaurants. But after revealing He voted for President Donald Trump. Sejour is now facing backlash, and he's talking about it.
I understand that right now this is a very sensitive time for our community.
Sejour tells Local 10 7 Haitian TPS holders on his management staff quit right after a federal judge this week cleared the way for the end of TPS protections for about 350,000 Haitians in the United States.
I've employed over 500 people, since the conception of our business. So again, it's terrible what's going on, and it's also terrible the disappointment that is being expressed on social media because of the decision that I've made to reveal my personal choice of candidate.
Sejour tells Local 10 he regrets that choice.
I can't support a candidate that is having this ripple negative effect on our community, on our economy.
I'm gonna let the Haitian adjacent member of our table start off first. What are your thoughts, Chris?
Well, I can, first of all, I appreciate your candor in your letter and your transparency with your choices. I can fully respect that. And it's clear that you're acknowledging the consequences of those choices. But, your question as to whether or not we are truly one family in the face of the criticism that you and others like you have received for this particular choice. I mean, one thing I'm immediately reminded of is, one of the more important aspects of any family. One thing I'm immediately reminded of is, one of the more important aspects of any family. And it's that, to sum it up, is that, no family will love you tougher, love you harder than real family. We're not here to just provide comfort, but to also provide clarity. Okay. Solace is one thing, but awareness is another. And I'm not being real family to you if I keep you in the dark about how I feel, how we feel, about how, our people are, what we're enduring due to this choice. Again, well, first, let me reiterate that, it's not to indict, but to respond directly to your concern and idea that we are somehow not one family due to this level of criticism and maybe even vitriol that you may be witnessing. And this is not to say that, these attitudes or my attitude about us as being one family is going to be a universal one across the board, but, the reactions to this choice, at this point, are to be expected. And granted, I do have a personal stake in this. The effects of this administration's decision have reached certain parts and ends of my network. My wife's family is originally from Rockland County, and Spring Valley is an area I'm very familiar with. As soon as they mentioned that, so yeah, we were very deep up there. But I can understand why you would question the idea of us being one family because of this. But I would gladly counter that and say that no, we are one family. We love you, no matter what you do. We're here for you because at the end of the day, it was already inferred that when when the man come, we all Negro.
Yep.
So and don't get it twisted. At one point, there will be a need for a real reflection. I see a desire for analysis in the letter, but deeper reflection in an embracing of the larger context may be necessary here. Not to infer that you have not, ascertained this, but this question begs me to ask this of you, but don't be disillusioned by the idea that we are not one family. We will always be one family. Granted, our shared experiences are very parallel, and by design. Nevertheless, we resist, and we continue to love each other across borders, across waters, across pain. Okay.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things that I took away from this letter, besides the fact, because her story is very similar to my story, and I've heard all the names. I've heard comments about the accents and all of the things, right? But I don't think that it could be understated that, one, as Chris said, we are family. But part of being part of a family also means correction, can sometimes mean critique, can sometimes bleed into ridicule. And it's not to say that you don't deserve any of those things. We see it out in nature all the time. There's a reason why, like, you go into the Serengeti, you see these nature videos or whatever, why animals collectively stay together and run regardless of when they see one person, when they see one of their animal, their same kind run, they all scatter. They move collectively. They move as a unit because there's safety in numbers. So when the numbers were telling you don't do this because there's safety with us, and you chose to go the other way, I mean, I don't know how much you can really say about that.
You take that criticism. You take that critique.
I'm sorry.
I said she takes that criticism. She takes that critique.
She has to.
She earned it. She earned it.
I think they have.
But that's my point. Just because there's critique, just because there's ridicule, doesn't
mean that there's no love or
does not remove the love of a family, of unity. Bro, we just watched the World Cup happen here, and there were a plethora of Latin America and Central American countries that played in the World Cup. And they had one binding thing that I need to remind you that was forced upon them by imperialism.
Beat the colonies.
Language. So as other Latin countries, as other...
I thought it was beat the colonizers. I'm sorry about that.
So as other Latin countries, maybe with the exception of Argentina, which everybody hates, but with other Latin countries falling out of the way, it's like, well, I know that this Latin country that speaks Spanish like my country does, I'm going to support them. So it didn't matter who it was. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And meanwhile, no one knows that you're Latino for real, until you open your mouth and start speaking Spanish. But everyone can see you from a mile away that you're black. And somehow it really just burns me when I see some people that have, whether they're Haitian, they're Nigerian, wherever they have this Negropean mindset that somehow culturally they're just so much different, drastically different from everybody else.
Well, these cultural contrarians.
Yeah, but they
annoy me endlessly.
They fall into this thing, and again, while I believe that she should and will be held accountable, not by us, but by her own decisions.
Absolutely.
There is a component there that I don't blame you for your decision solely. There's a larger context here, right? There's a white supremacist settler colonial empire that pushes that type of individualism onto us because of the way that their mechanisms and their things that they have done to us has divided us and keeps us divided. Most of the rhetoric that we get about each other has not been something that we created. They started that. They started it before they started putting black and white Tarzan on TV. The way they emulated and they have depicted our brothers and sisters from across the diaspora, non-American diaspora, in such an unintelligent, barbaric, overly sexualized, hyper-masculine, bestial type of way that people here who have not had the access to education about our brothers and sisters across the diaspora have accepted that. They have swallowed it, hook, line, and sucker.
Yeah.
And it is our responsibility as people who know better to do better and in some cases say, damn, my bad, sis, that you had to go through that.
Yeah,
That's not the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
that's a shitty way to be.
Yeah.
But there's also a level of culpability and responsibility that you
that
also
to
have for doing that. Because again, you're falling into, like many of us will, you'll fall into those individualistic, capitalistic ideologies where your lived experience, your individual lived experience will supersede all of the needs and the things that are taking place across the diaspora. And I think every Black person here who has participated and supported Old Boy fell into that particular trap. And it's a beautiful trap.
Yeah. In fact, her offhand comment about what motivated her vote was the one thing that divided her from her community, her grocery bill. Economics. And economics, something that she could not really control, but you can if you become part of community.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That offhand comment, belied the motivations there.
But that's because I see it in the Nigerian community all the time, bro, that they somehow feel like, okay, whether because of education, because of status and all these other things, they're somehow separate from the collective. Mind you, you come from a country that has from time immemorial has always preached communalism.
The collective is the culture.
It's part of our fabric. It's part of our very fabric. It doesn't matter what
country that hates this country.
It's about we from conception.
My guy.
It's about we from conception.
But then you fall into the traps. You watch all the things on the internet and the fucking Twitters and all that
social media.
The ADOSs and the FBAs, and you hear, because this anecdotal pinpoints here and there. The Jamaican person down the street told me that they don't like African Americans, or the Nigerian person down that went to my job that I work with was like, yeah, we don't. But it's like there's a thing. There is literally a thing, and I'll break it down to you if you haven't figured it out by now. For Nigeria specifically, right? One of the things that happened colonially after the British started leaving Nigeria, one of the things was just talking about America in general, right? And of course, like we said, the media that gets imported into the countries. So all you see, especially before these late 70s, early 80s, when we started getting, or 90s, I should say, when we started getting an influx of people from West Africa coming into the country, all you saw was the boys in the hood type of representation, the menace to society type of representation. All of these white people, these what do they call them? Crush. These folks that come in, these white people that come from the churches, and they come in.
Oh, the missionaries?
The missionaries that come and spread this poison to tell you that if you leave this country, if you dare to leave this country and you happen to go to America and meet African Americans, you need to stay away from them because they'll be your downfall. So you have a culture, a community, a country being told, don't watch out for those niggas over there. Literally.
Or they are actually maybe telling them something else entirely, bro. American may be telling them, this is how we see people that look like you.
But that's never the messaging when they tell them that before they leave the country. It's
but I think that might be part of it.
Special. If you get an opportunity to leave this jungle, you're special. You're special in a way that those people over there that have been in that country for forever and failed are not special. So unless you want to be contaminated, you should not hang with them.
You should not be there. Yeah.
So when you come to this country and you've been fed this bullshit for how long, and then you get here and you're like, God damn, master, and I use that term very, very loosely, master told me not to mess with y'all because y'all going to be my downfall. I'm going to be 100% with y'all, man. When my parents came to this country, they were very similarly in the same thought process.
A lot of people.
All they heard before they came over was, don't mess with African Americans because they're going to kill you. They're going to steal from you. They're very this, they're very that. They're all of the things. And much like W.E.B. Du Bois, much like Muhammad Ali, much like Malcolm X, the age and experience changes your mindset.
Sure.
Education changes your mindset. So my parents, they've been here for how many? 40 plus donkey years. And ask them now if they still feel the same way. Some of the people that have been the most influential and impactful in my parents' lives have been African American people. Talk less of the Nigerian community that we've built. People that ran out on them when they needed help the most.
Look, I don't
say that to fluff African American. I'm just talking about there's a connection.
Sure.
And we should use the diaspora to separate ourselves.
Look, I mean, I've already told this story, but it begs repeating, what my father experienced when he came here in the late 60s. And, what he told me and my sister was like, he did not understand why everyone was so damn angry.
Yeah. It was good here.
He's like, what's going on? What's going on with you guys? And he saw the protests. Mm-hmm. He saw speeches. He saw that, and he'd heard things before he came here, but seeing it for himself was a shock to the system. And it didn't take long. Well, granted, the white folk back then definitely had their jokes for him too, because he came over here lighter than me, with hair halfway down his back.
Yeah,
long wavy hair halfway down his back, and a long beard, Philly style. So they definitely had their perceptions of him as well. And they couldn't quite say if he was black or something else or this, that, and the other, but they nevertheless lumped him in with every other, because he only worked with black people and as a contractor on construction sites, building homes, working on the schools, all that stuff. And he told my sister and I, it didn't take long before he got his first nigga. Mm. and he didn't realize why his fist was getting. He was ready to punch his man. His friend had to stop him. He's like, "Wait, why did you call me? I'm just, I'm about to have some babies here. I'm trying to make And he said he got the crash course pretty quick in about 4 months after he came to this country. It didn't take long.
It really burns me up, because I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. Like I said, I grew up in a household initially that my parents had that way of thinking, and I never really grasped it. Even though I felt like I was caught between two worlds, but at the same time, it's like I didn't allow both of those worlds to say that there was one more poisonous than the other, right?
Right.
But then when you start having conversations with people, and they recognize that you have a Pan-African mindset or
changes
approach,
everything.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it changes everything.
It changes everything, bro. And I didn't know that having a Pan-African mindset was so frowned upon, man. I honestly didn't. Like, if you had, bro, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. If I had known beforehand, I would have just kept my mouth shut.
Yeah,
people look at you differently when you have a Pan-African mindset.
Yeah. And largely because their personal experience supersedes what is actually taking place. So much of the things that happens, and that's part of the intent and by design of this capitalism society, is for us to be individualistic. They don't want us to be on the same page. They don't want us to understand that there is a connection. While there is some pain, some hurt, and some harm that has happened in our family, there is a connection. And when that connection is strengthened and stronger, we're more dangerous than anything else. So I don't want to, I dig where she is. I don't think there's anything necessarily unique, sis, about you, anything necessarily special about you, because again, there are black folks who've been born and raised in this country who have the same mentality that you do.
Yep.
That is about, I'm going to do this for me and my family. And I dig it. I just think you're wrong.
Yeah. We have been so severely conditioned to believe in the benefits of our self-interest, or the benefits of self-interest versus the benefits of collective interest.
Yeah.
It's been beaten into our souls.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To the point that the idea of communal thinking, of interpersonal growth is nearly painful, if not completely terrifying to most of us.
Yeah.